What's up, you guys? Rasati out here in Singapore. Thank you so much for joining me, as always, on my Night Owl podcast. You guys, you know what it is. I do the same thing every night. You get to be here and listen to me as I rant and rave. Okay, I try really hard not to rant or rave, but I do want to talk it out. I want for talk therapy to be the next big thing. And I don't mean next big thing as in like everyone's doing it, you better do it or you're not cool. I'm talking about let's make talk therapy the main form of understanding, like a means of understanding what's going on in your life. As in, you have a few trusted friends and you talk to them because you want their perspective, so you don't think or overthink, for that matter, what's going on in your life. You have people that will ground you. You have people that will encourage you and push you. You have people that will calm you down when you need to. And because you've spent so much time thinking and observing and understanding the data around you, you know exactly who those people are. So let me start from the beginning. Tonight, I want to talk about the fact that I want you to love who you are. I want you to know who you are. I want you to analyze all that data around you and understand what that means. You know what I mean by data? I'm talking about everybody has an impulse, everybody has a reaction, everybody has something to say about whatever's going on in their lives and in yours. I mean, let's face it, everybody got something to say. You got haters, you got people who have opinions everywhere. You have aunties and uncles who just want to weigh in on your life because they have nothing else better to do. You got plenty of gossip, right? But in the midst of all that noise, there is useful data. When you sit with your mother and talk to her, every time she cringes, grits her teeth, rolls her eyes, that is information for you. If you want to actually pay attention. It took me a long time to understand that, you know what, I'm triggering her, and I know I'm triggering her when I see her clench her jaw. I can see it because her jaw kind of juts out and it kind of like bulges a little bit. I know. So then I realized, okay, what was I saying just now? Why is she triggered? What could it possibly mean to her? Oh, maybe I am calling into question her integrity or calling into question her ability to know things more than I do. From my mom's generation, they have a big hiccup. No, not a hiccup. They have a lot of trouble acknowledging the fact that they might not have all the answers anymore. I mean, it was real easy when we were little. They knew everything. We knew nothing. We depended on them. But now in the age of information, we know a lot. And we're getting it from everywhere. And they may not have the same sources of information, so they're stuck in their minds with the same old, same old. They've done things the old, analog way. Unless it's given to them on a notebook or they've had to take notes in a lecture, like it's old school. They don't go looking for information anymore. We get lost in the information. It's just all around us. But I'm telling you, you can figure out people if you just pay attention. I had a conversation a while back. A young man came to me and he was talking to me about his wife, and he was having a lot of trouble trying to understand where all her rage was coming from. And I get it, man. It's hard. It's hard to think straight when someone's just yelling at you because you're trying really hard not to get beaten down by whatever the words that they are using are. And it's not just for women, but it's for men as well. It's really important for men because you're told to suck it up, rub some dirt in it, you'll be all right. Don't feel. Don't get caught up in your feelings. Don't be a sissy. Don't be a wuss. None of those things, right? I understand. It's terrible. I'm trying to change that too. But let's talk about the situation for a second. This young man came to me and said, look, I love my wife. I want to do the best I can by her. Right now, I'm having financial difficulty. So I'm trying really hard to get it together because in my mind, the best way that I can support my family and show love is to make sure they never have to worry where their next meal is coming from. And they don't have to worry about whether they have a roof over their heads or whether they have hot water. If I can take care of those things, that is how I show love. Now, the fact that he was able to tell me, a complete stranger, this means he knows a little bit about himself. But what came out of his mouth next shows me how much emotional intelligence is lacking in our society. He told me that his wife was yelling at him and calling him names. And she was harping on the fact that he wasn't bringing in any money, a fact that he was very well aware of and he was already beating himself up about, right? But more than that, she was threatening to leave, to do this, to do all kinds of stuff, and she was really, really upset. She was bringing his parents into it. He was bringing their kids into it. She was bringing up all of his past actions, his past behaviors, things he had told her, about his childhood. She was weaponizing all of his insecurities. Why? Because she felt bad. But we can't go and analyze why she feels bad because she's on the attack. She's aggressive. She's throwing knives, you guys. Like, not actually throwing knives, but you know what I mean. She's shooting at him with all of her thoughts and all of her words. She's shooting at him. She's attacking him. So how do you get that person to calm down in order to find out what's actually going on? What happened for her to suddenly get so triggered? Because obviously this financial crisis didn't pop up like in the last 5 minutes. It's been going because he's doing the best he can to figure it out. But what I had to remind him was, okay, this is not just about you. Something happened where she feels put upon. She feels like she's not important anymore. And so she's going to point out where you're failing, because then she doesn't have to focus on why she doesn't feel so great. She's giving you the information. She's upset. You already know something happened suddenly for her to suddenly be upset. You have to find a way to calm her down and not get swept away with all the insults that are coming down on you like a hailstorm, so you can get to the bottom of what's going on. But if you know your wife well enough, if you know the people around you well enough, you can tell what's happening. You can tell by the way they react, the way they plant themselves in the room, the way they hold their body. If they have their arms crossed, they feel insecure. If they are open hands and like charging towards you, they're angry. They, are confident and angry. There are a lot of things, there are a lot of tells that you can really pay attention to. But what we don't do is remain self-aware and observe. Rather than that, what we tend to do is get carried away by what everyone else is saying, what's happening in the moment. We get carried away with feelings, and so we cease to think logically. And I think I've mentioned this before. It is very difficult to hear any advice and take it in if you're angry, or if you're very, very sad. For children, when they're very, very happy, they don't hear nothing. They don't hear anything. They're too busy dancing and playing around. They're too busy humming to themselves and making up stories. They will hear, it will go in one ear and out the other, and you will be upset and frustrated forever because they're too happy to pay attention to you right now. They're lost in their emotion. And sometimes it's a good thing. I believe in moderation, all things in good time. Yes, if you're grieving, you need to go through the grief process. You need to go through the anger, the denial. You have to go through all of the, the sadness. You need to let it wash over you. You need to understand and process what this new change in your life suddenly means. You need to mourn what was and now try your best to embrace what is going to be. It is part of the process. So I'm a big fan of everything in moderation, which means the feeling needs to wash over you, and then you need to let it go. If you continue revisiting what's hurting you, it's keeping you in a state of lack. It's keeping you in a mentality that is either depressed or anxious. Either you're worried about what you used to have in the past and you're worried about why you don't have it anymore, and so you're reliving the past over and over again, you are depressed. Or you're worried about what might possibly happen in the future because you have nothing that you can hold on to that is certain. You have no sense of stability. You need something that you can call home or some safe place to land. You have none of that, so you're worried constantly about all the many variables that could be your future. You are anxious or anxiety disorder, correct? What I need you to do is learn to observe your life more than get carried away with what's going on. Don't get messed up in all the details. Instead, find a way to understand what's going on. If, let's put you in a classroom situation as a child, right? If someone is teaching you how to count, they will most likely use something tangible to show you that this plus this means it's going to be more of something, right? So they will bring you one big Lego block, and then they'll bring you another big Lego block, and they will say 1 + 1, and now you have how many? 2. You have to learn how to count to 2. But if you don't understand the language, and until you do understand the language, you're going to observe. You're going to observe and you're going to see hands-on that there is more now than there was before. Whatever the quantity was, it is bigger now than it was before. It's going to take you a little bit, but you can observe those things and put the ideas together. It is possible. The same way that you can teach a dog new tricks because you reward them, right? You either reward or punish and they will understand. I know this because we tested rats on how many sequences they could learn in a row. We understood, right? So it is possible for you to determine what's actually going on in the world if you can separate the logic of the brain and the feelings of the heart and observe for a moment. Because then you're not assigning value to what's going on. You're just simply observing what is happening. I think I've used this analogy 1,010,000 times. Rain. What is rain? Is it good or bad? It is just rain. I don't know. It's just rain. It's water from the sky. It's just rain. It is a necessary thing. The earth needs it. It just happens. You can't always predict it. It happens. If you are dressed up to the nines, your hair done, your makeup done, outfit on point, you got heels on, and it's raining cats and dogs outside, even if you have an umbrella, you're going to be pissed because there is more of a chance that you could slip. There's more of a chance that you could be splashed by water or step in a puddle and mess up your clothes or mess up your heels. It could be that people start to drive more stupidly, so you may not arrive to wherever your destination is on time. The rain could be a problem if you have somewhere to go. If you're like me and I'm just sitting at home and working my ass off, and then I have to step out into the rain to go get my daughter, but I don't have to go anywhere afterwards, I'm just going to go get her, chances are you may enjoy the rain, even though it's raining like cats and dogs, because you know inevitably if you fight it, you're going to end up wet anyway. So what do? I kick off my shoes, I splash in the puddles, and I let her do the same. So we enjoy the rain, and we come back home and take a shower and do what we got to do. The rain in both situations has no value, good or bad. I assigned the value based on what I had to do that day. The first scenario where I was dressed up and had to go somewhere, I was pissed. It was a bad thing that it was raining because it's going to slow me down or mess me up. In the second situation, not a bad thing, maybe even a good thing, because I get to act like a kid and splash in some puddles and enjoy my daughter's childhood a little bit more. Just like those examples, whether it's the example of the husband and his wife, whether it's the example of being in a classroom to learn a concept of counting, whether it's the rain, there is so much information around you. All you have to do is stop spinning so fast and pay attention. Learn to observe. Learn to slow everything down and listen to what's going on around you. You can take visual cues. I've seen young children who know when someone is upset, and they, not knowing the language, may not even know the person, will come up to a person who's crying and put their hand on their shoulder and look into their face, like peer into their face, like, hey, you okay? They may goo goo gaga the whole thing, but they understand social cues enough to understand someone is upset and to offer some solace, some comfort in their own tiny, pudgy face way. They will find a way to show you that they know, they saw that you're upset, they are concerned, they want to know if you're okay. The same thing goes to us as adults, but because of culture, because of what's appropriate, common etiquette, politically correct, blah, 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 whatever, right? We tend not to ask those questions because we're afraid of how the other person will take it. I can't ask a simple question of, hey, you're okay? Without someone getting upset at the fact that, oh my God, someone saw me crying. I've done it before. I've done it on trains and buses, and sometimes the person is like, oh my God, you noticed, thank you so much. And sometimes like, oh my God, get out of my face, like mind your own business. But I would feel badly if I didn't notice and say something. Obviously, if my brain can register the fact that someone's upset, that means I was meant to notice. And if I notice and it's my responsibility, say something, just check on them. What's the worst that could happen? They bristle and get pissed off at you. But what if that day they were contemplating suicide? Because let me tell you something. There have been many a day where I have been contemplating suicide. And I didn't want to be here anymore because everywhere I went, it seemed like I was upsetting someone or disappointing someone, and I just couldn't get anything right. And of course, I was recounting moments that proved my theory that I was a wallflower and was not important. But in those moments when a stranger looked up and made eye contact and showed me with a smile that they saw me, that I was not a ghost among the living, that I really did exist here on this plane, it made me feel like, you know what? Maybe not today. Maybe I'll keep trying today. This is why I think it's so important for you to be self-aware of yourself. I think it's so important for you to learn to notice the people around you, like really notice. Not hi bye, kind of situation. I mean, like really notice. So you can learn to love each other. So you can learn to love and support each other, to learn to be around for each other. It's not enough as a married couple to just like organize your schedules and make sure the kids are taken, picked up on time and food is on the table in a, healthy manner, somewhat edible, something like that. It's not enough to do just that. That's bare minimum. I need you guys to be concerned about each other. I need you guys to be involved in each other's lives. I need you guys to notice when your kid comes home from school and they don't have their usual cheerful face going on. They got some stuff. You can see it. Their eyebrows are creased a little bit, their forehead furrowed. They maybe have a frown on their face. Maybe they're like a little bit more quiet than usual. I need you to notice what's wrong, what's off from their baseline. Because all the answers are in front of you. You need to learn how to interpret. And this, my friends, is what I've spent the last 4 years teaching. And I couldn't have asked for a better job because I love teaching this. Because let me tell you something, a simple life is a happy life. But simple is not easy. To get to simple, not easy. Not with everybody telling you what you should and shouldn't be doing, and what's the definition of success, and why aren't you married, and how come you don't have kids, and where's your boyfriend, and you're next, you're next, all your cousins are married, all that shit. You go straight out the window. I would rather you focus on understanding what makes you happy, because if you don't know what makes you happy, how are you going to tell your spouse or your kids what makes you happy? How are you going to explain to them why something does not make you happy? How are you going to reconcile moments where you actually feel jealousy and you don't understand that it's jealousy, but you feel upset and you don't know why you don't like that person, but you know what? The sight of them makes you mad and you just don't want to be around them. But you haven't sat down to wonder, what about them upsets me? And why does it upset me? Why does their existence? What does that mean to me? Does that mean that they're taking away from me? No, not necessarily. Does it mean that if they win, that I won't win? Does that mean that there's only a limited amount of abundance in the world, and if they win at something, that I may not get the dreams that I've been working towards? Is there only one promotion? Is there only one salary increase? Like, what's going on? What does this stuff mean? This is why I teach emotional intelligence. This is why it's so important for me to learn to observe rather than to get caught up in my emotions. This is why you feel safe and calm in my presence, because I have learned to manage the storms that come and go in my life. I have learned to figure out what it is that storm is meant to shake up and teach me. I am no longer ruled by my emotions. I manage them. I understand them. I notice when they pop up, and then I dig in to figure out, well, why is this popping up all of a sudden? And what does it mean to me? I love you guys. I hope you understand where I'm coming from. I just want to make your lives a little bit easier. Because if I know something that's going to make your life easier, why wouldn't I teach you? If I know a hack about how to peel garlic without having to struggle and take 10, 20 minutes to peel one little clove of garlic, I'm going to tell you, because guess what? That's 10 minutes you can use for something else. Why not? If you have any questions or comments, drop them in the comments below. But in the meantime, you guys, consider my words. Emotional intelligence is not that hard to grasp, but you do need someone to teach it to you. And the reason I teach you about emotional intelligence? Because I am a firm believer of holistic healing. I am a firm believer of not depending on medication to solve your problems for you, because guess what? Not everyone thinks straight when they're on their medications, and not everyone's able to face their problems because most of the time they're numbed. I understand the medications are meant to regulate hormones, and some people really need to regulate their hormones. But guess what? Food can do that too. Sleep can do that too. Drinking enough water, having enough exercise, that can help you regulate your hormones too. And I would rather you try all those things before you resort to medication. So if I can help you figure this stuff out before you have to use medication, it's my job to try. I love you guys, and I'll catch you again soon, okay? Bye.